My name is Joan Matula, and as co-president of the League of Women Voters of Moore County, I would like to welcome you to the League's 2020 Candidate Forum, featuring candidates for the Moore County Board of Education. This forum is part of the League's efforts to help voters learn more about their candidates and their positions on issues. We would like to get to know them better as people willing to serve. The League is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any political candidates. Our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. For 100 years, the League has stood firm in the belief that government has a responsibility to represent and serve the people, not individuals in power. Before we start, I would like to thank Sandhills Community College for the use of the green room for our broadcast. Since we strive to register citizens and educate voters, we have invited Glenda Clendenin, Director of the Moore County Board of Elections, to give us a brief update on the upcoming election. So, Glenda, you're on.
Thank you, Joan, so much. We appreciate all the efforts of the League, and I know it has been quite an effort to pull this together, and we really appreciate it. As you can imagine, things are very busy at the Board of Elections. We have mailed over 12,000 absentee by mail ballots, and we have almost half of them back, which is amazing. We're so thrilled with that. Our one-stop early voting will start next week on the 15th. And voters should know that they could go to any one of our 4 locations. Our hours will all be the same throughout the county, and that's from 8 a.m. to 7:30 during weekdays. On Saturdays, we'll be open 8 to 3, and on Sunday from 2 to 5. The locations are Vass Town Hall, Aberdeen Recreation Station down on Aberdeen Lake, the Moore County Agricultural Center, and the Pinehurst Cannon Community Center there on Rattlesnake Trail. If voters need to change their address or make any change in their records, our registration books do close this Friday at 5 o'clock. However, they can change their name or address, and they can register when they go to early voting. Now, if you wait to go to early voting to register to vote, you will be required to show some additional ID. But as you noted in your PowerPoint, no photo ID is required this year for those who already registered. Our registration numbers are over 72,000, which of course is the biggest that we have ever been. And what an exciting time it is. If voters have ballots that they have voted and would like to deliver them in person to the Board of Elections, we actually have staff that will come out and greet you, and you'll complete a receipt as to who is returning the ballot. It is against the law for someone to have another person's ballot in their possession unless they're a near relative. So don't ask your neighbor to bring your ballot, because that's not really provided for by law. And if there is any error or deficiency in your ballot, please know that the Board of Elections will be contacting you. We're waiting for some more guidance from the courts exactly how to handle that properly. But just as if you made a mistake on election day, you could spoil your ballot and get another. So if an absentee voter makes a mistake in either the ballot, they can let us know. We'll reissue that ballot. We'll spoil that one. Or if they make an error in completing the certification and return, you will be contacted by the Board of Election. And Joan, thanks once again, and thank you to all the candidates. It's been a great year to work with y'all, and man, what a year in history this will be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glenda. And just as a promotional information for those listening, I think Glenda is still in need of volunteers. So if you're interested in helping out with the Board of Elections, please notify Glenda. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn the forum over to Carolyn Mealing, She will be the moderator for this event. Carolyn.
Thank you, Joan. And the Moore County Board of Education is the local governing body of the county public school system. Its members either represent districts or the county at large. All are elected in nonpartisan countywide elections and serve staggered 4-year terms. The 7-member school board has 5 primary responsibilities. 1, employ the superintendent. 2, establish policy. 3, determine annual operating and capital budgets. 4, approve student assignment boundaries. 5, oversee the management of the school district's major systems, including budget and finance, curriculum and instruction, personnel, and auxiliary services. This evening, we'll be hearing from 6 of the 8 candidates running for the Moore County Board of Education. 2 candidates are running for 1 seat in each of 4 districts. District 1, Stacey Caldwell and Brandon Coleman. District 2, Helena Wallin-Miller and Robert Levy. District 4, Betty Wells Brown and David Hensley. District 5, John Weaver and Phillip Holmes. Brandon Coleman and David Hensley did not respond to our invitation and will not be joining us for the forum this evening. Candidates will each have 2 minutes to talk about their backgrounds, experience, and reasons for running for this office. They will then have 2 minutes to answer each of the 2 questions that were sent to them in advance. If time permits, candidates will then have 1 minute to answer questions that were received from voters. All questions will be addressed to all candidates. Finally, each candidate will have 1 minute to summarize his or her remarks and tell voters why they should vote for them. For the candidates, a yellow paddle will be shown on the screen when it's time to bring your remarks to a close. And a red paddle will be shown when it's time to stop speaking. And we ask that each speaker please respond accordingly. For 2-minute remarks and questions, the yellow paddle will be held up.
We can't hear.
We couldn't hear you, Carolyn. I'm sorry.
We couldn't hear. You're muted, Carolyn.
There we go. I'll have to start again. Was I unmuted? Was I muted from the beginning? When did it?
Talking about the responses.
Okay, let's see where we were. All right. Candidates shall I start from this paragraph? Candidates will each have 2 minutes to talk about their backgrounds, experience, and reasons for running for office. They will then have 2 minutes to answer each of the questions that were sent to them in advance. And if time permits, candidates will then have 1 minute to answer questions that were received from voters. All questions will be addressed to all candidates. And finally, each candidate will have 1 minute to summarize his or her remarks and tell voters why they should vote for them. For the candidates, a yellow paddle will be shown on the screen when it's time to bring your remarks to a close, and the red paddle will be shown when it's time to stop speaking. For 2-minute remarks and questions, the yellow paddle will be held up when there are 30 seconds remaining, and for the 1-minute questions, the yellow paddle will be held up when there are 15 seconds remaining. If your time is up mid-sentence, you may finish your sentence, however. We sincerely appreciate the willingness of the candidates to participate in this forum, and we applaud them for their willingness to serve our county as members of the Board of Education. We'll begin tonight in alphabetic order for opening remarks, but after that, I will vary the order of responses to ensure fairness. Betty Wells Brown, would you like to begin by telling us about your background, experience, and reasons for running for office?
Yes, thank you. As Carolyn said, I'm Dr. Betty Wells Brown, a former classroom teacher, central office administrator, university professor, and military accreditation specialist. I've worked at various grade levels over my 45 plus years in education. I bring a wealth of knowledge and experience about education and its functions. Having worked in grade levels from kindergarten through graduate classes, I feel I'm well qualified for this position. I'm a fall 2015 fellow from the North Carolina Institute of Political Leadership and a 2017 graduate of the Moore County Leadership Institute. These programs have been invaluable to me to learn more about North Carolina and its political system, to discovering new and interesting areas in Moore County and its diversity and quality of life. I have served in numerous leadership roles throughout my career. I was president of the North Carolina Reading Association, serving over 5,000 members, and served on several national committees for the International Literacy Association. I've been an associate dean for academic affairs and a department chair while serving at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. And I have been a director of military education programs at Fort Eustis, Virginia. I've also served for the past 4 years for the Moore County chapter of Delta Kappa Gamma, which is a women's education society. I have a PhD and master's in reading education and a specialty in diagnosis and remediation from the University of South Carolina and an educational specialist degree in administration and supervision from the Citadel. I appreciate your support and your votes. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll hear from Stacey Caldwell.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Stacey Caldwell, and I have been serving on the Board of Education for 4 years. I grew up in a household with both parents in the education field. I started my teaching career at a private preschool and then got an amazing job as a special education teacher assistant in the public schools in Georgia. We came to Fort Bragg in 2001, and I started teaching at Moore County Schools. I served on several committees while I taught at Pinehurst Elementary, and I won a national award for classroom management. I am currently certified to teach K through 8. I am a proud member of a great program that we teach in all of our schools called Pet Responsibility. I'm an Army wife, and we've been married for 25 years, and I have a beautiful daughter. I'm a huge advocate for our military families and even served as a liaison for Vast Lakeview Elementary School. Having been a Moore County school teacher for almost 10 years, I believe has given me the insight of the needs of our teachers and students, the working of our schools, and the connection to our teachers and classrooms. My effort as a board member will continue to be centered around for what is best for the children in Moore County. Listening to the teachers, parents, and students still continue to be very important to me. I believe in our vision statement for Moore County Schools. I believe we need to prepare all students with the skills they need to be confident in academics, inspiring students to reach their full potential so they'll be able to thrive in our ever-changing world. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You beat the clock.
Yay!
Okay. Next, we'll hear from Phillip Holmes.
Good evening. My background, so after graduating from high school, I ended up marrying my high school sweetheart. I was in law enforcement down towards the coast. After getting injured there, I decided to move back and work in my family's business. One of the things that I learned by being in law enforcement is leadership and investigations. You have to do your due diligence regarding any situation. Right now I manage my family's funeral home. I'm getting feedback. Can y'all hear that? Okay.
Very little.
Okay, so my wife, she's a school teacher, and she's certified K through 5. She's a nationally board certified teacher.
Phillip, we are having a tough time hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So she is a certified teacher, K through 5. She's a nationally board certified, and she has her ESL license and currently now teaches kindergarten. I've seen firsthand the passion that she has in teaching, and I went to see her teach one day and just observe. I wasn't there very long, but from what I saw, I mean, I gained a bigger respect for teachers, and they deserve all the credit. They're the miracle workers in education.
All right, thank you, Phillip. Next, we're going to hear from Robert Levy.
He's not too good with technology.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. My name is Robert M. Levy, and I'm running for the school board. I wanted to, first of all, thank the League of Women Voters for having us here today. And I want to point out that my mother was actually a member of this chapter of the League of Women Voters for several years before her death. She was proud of her work for the League, and she was proud of what the League has done. To let you know a little bit about my qualifications, I graduated from Pinecrest High School, then went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where I graduated with a BA in history with honors and a sociology degree. I then obtained my Juris Doctor. I'm a lawyer, and obtained that Juris Doctor from the University of the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. I started practicing law in 1978. And after I decided to then return to Moore County, I spent quite a lot of that time practicing in both Los Angeles and in Maryland. I returned to Moore County and got my teaching certificate. I went to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte and graduated with a 4.0, of which I was very proud. I have since then been teaching as a substitute teacher in the Moore County school system. What that really means is that I have an idea of what not only happens from the top down, I have an idea of what happens from the bottom up. I hear the whispers in the hallways, I hear the problems that occur, and I want to help solve those problems. My motivation for solving those problems is, and for running, is to make sure that we get rid of some of our D-rated schools. We have 4 of them, and that's just not right. We need to hold our superintendent accountable. We have to make sure that we don't put a school near a toxic waste dump, which has unfortunately happened.
Excuse
and
me,
I think
Robert.
You need 2 stop signs.
It's time.
You need
to
2 stop signs.
I'm afraid, are you seeing these signs when we held them up?
He sees them, he just doesn't care.
No. All right, let's go on and let's hear now from Helena Wallin-Miller.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Helena Wallin-Miller, and I was first appointed to the Moore County Board of Education in 2015. I won my first term in 2016 and have since served once as vice chair and 2 terms as chair. I have lived in Moore County for 15 years and have served on the Allocations Committee for the United Way of Moore County and served on the boards of the Learning Tree Preschool and also the Junior League of Moore County. I have a master's degree in public policy from Georgetown, and my husband and I have 2 children in Moore County schools. Professionally, I've had a 30-year career working for nonprofit and for-profit organizations focused on communities and families. Currently, I'm working for a Virginia-based consulting company and spend my days working to support child welfare workers around the country. My day is spent looking at data and analysis and finding ways for continuous quality improvement at all times. My interest in education and the board began in 2013 when I learned how North Carolina funded its public schools. I quickly understood that many difficult decisions faced by the board stem from unfunded mandates from the NC legislature and declining funding for education. While education funding has fallen, I am proud to say that Moore County Schools is leading the state in many areas, and particularly over the past 5 years. First and foremost, we reopened schools on August 17th to both in-person and online instruction, giving parents a choice, one of very few systems within the state to do so. We have the highest graduation rate in the state, and it has increased 6% in the past 5 years. Our students earned 3,900 career and technical education credits, Last year, that's 600% more than 2015. Teacher satisfaction has increased 9% since 2015, and our school performance grade average has increased 7% since 2015. And our students have exceeded state scores on ACT, the ACT work keys, and Read to Achieve measures. So we are succeeding on a lot of measures. In addition to these student successes, I am proud to have led efforts to fund, build, and open 4 safe and efficient elementary schools and expand Northmore High School. I hope what you take away from tonight is that I'm a proven leader and a collaborator. I'm a strong advocate for public education, and I am committed to building our current success for Moore County. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, let's hear from John Weaver. Be sure to unmute.
Thank you. Having been appointed to the Moore County Board of Education in September of 2019, I've gained firsthand experience and knowledge of the cultural, operational, and financial aspects of the Moore County school system. I have a bachelor's science degree in electrical engineering. Retiring in 2017, I completed a 44-year career in the electric utility industry. Half of my career was spent in management and supervisory positions, which afforded me considerable experience and training in managing and providing leadership to professional, administrative, and craft employees, preparing and managing operating budgets, and assessing performance. I bring extensive experience in long-range planning and budgeting for infrastructure expansion of the electrical distribution system to meet growing electrical demands. I believe this experience translates very closely to the strategic planning required to meet the growing student demands of the Moore County school system. I served an appointment on the Southern Pines Planning Board and the Moore County Hazardous Materials Planning Committee. My tenure on these appointments provided me with an appreciation and respect for the opinion and concerns of others in the community. I've supported community and civic efforts through active participation in Kiwanis for 30 years and served on the local Optimist Club Board of Directors. Both these civic organizations focus on developing character and supporting youth in our community. I also served on the Fellowship Preschool Board of Directors. I've directly supported charitable efforts in the community, serving on the Moore County United Way Board for a number of years. I believe my past experience over my career, my past civic and community involvement, coupled with my tenure so far on the Moore County Board of Education, makes me a candidate that brings diversity to the board. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for your opening remarks. Now we're going to move on to the 2 questions that were sent to all candidates in advance. And each candidate will now have up to 2 minutes to respond to each question. For our first question, what do you think is the most important responsibility of a school board member? And this time we'll hear first from Stacey Caldwell.
Woohoo! All right. There are many responsibilities on what a school board member does, which include of what you said earlier, but I'm going to restate them. Setting the vision goals for the district, adopt and oversee the annual budget, work with our county commissioners with budget matters, hire and evaluate the superintendent, adopt policies that better our school system, and working together as a team, even though we may disagree at times, is essential to listen to others' perspectives. Personally, to me, every responsibility that we have is important because they all focus on what is best for all the children in Moore County. One responsibility that I feel is the key component is listening, making sure that children, teachers, staff, parents in our community feel that they are being heard. I have always made it a goal of mine to write to everyone that has taken the time out of their day to write to me. We must keep the dialogue going between teachers, staff, parents, and members of our community to determine what is the best interest for all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we're going to hear from John Weaver.
Thank you again. School board members have several important responsibilities. They must provide for a safe, quality learning environment, which allows each and every student within Moore County to be successful and achieve their full potential regardless of their economic, social status, race, ethnicity, gender, or religious belief. Equally important, board members must ensure educators and staff are respected, feel valued, and have the support and resources needed to continually be motivated and successful in their role within the education system. Additionally, board members have the responsibility to keep students, parents, and the community at large engaged in the education process and encouraged to provide input on a continuing basis. Board members must maintain a long-range strategic plan to meet the growing educational demands within Moore County and ensure that the budget supports that plan. I see board members as providing overall leadership in developing and implementing policy, understanding the laws governing education, and setting the overall tone for education within Moore County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Robert Levy.
Thank you again. What the most important responsibility of a school board member is to realize that what we have is a public trust. The students are placed in our trust, their budget is placed in our trust, and we have to make sure that that budget is administered responsibly. We have to make sure that our students are taught responsibly. We have to make sure that we teach, we do not indoctrinate. Unfortunately, there's been too much indoctrination going on, and unfortunately, not enough solid education. We have to make sure that we don't do things like sell school property at fire sale prices. Currently, we're trying to sell the May Street School. We need that school. We need to keep that school because our area is expanding. As we expand, we're going to need more school space. The pilot has told us that. We agree with that. So we can't take $1.1 million in a quick pandemic sale of that property. I feel badly that we've already sold the Aberdeen School. We also need to make sure that we lease out and not sell the West Southern Pines School. We have to make sure that in this public trust, our administrators are being held accountable for what they do. And when they have a survey, we have to make sure that they don't give our children surveys which say things like, how many sexual partners have you had? Have they been men, women, or both? That is the kind of survey that was brought to the board just yesterday. And unfortunately, no one on the board said, we're not going to do that to our students. We need to teach values. We need to hold our administrators accountable, and we need to educate, not indoctrinate. That is the most important part of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Betty Wells Brown.
Hello again. The most important responsibility of the Board of Education is to know the policy, procedures, and responsibilities of the district, and to adhere to these with safety and security of our students and teachers at the forefront of these charges. A part of these duties is to hire and evaluate the superintendent and to oversee the financial management of the district. These requirements are mandated by the state, and our policies dictate the organizational structure, as well as formulate how we support and provide for our students, teachers, and staff. As we oversee our finances, as we oversee the superintendent and fiscal management of the district, our finances rely solely on state and local funds. As such, we are continuously communicating with our Board of Commissioners and state legislators to keep them aware of our needs. The Board of Education should work as a team, respecting one another's opinions, whether we agree or disagree. As a team, we lead the educational initiatives for the Moore County schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Phillip Holmes.
So the most important role of a school board member is to listen to the parents and the teachers, while at the same time monitoring and setting goals for the superintendent. It's also important to work with other board members. It's okay if we have differences of opinion. That's what's important about having a diverse school board. It's important for us to implement policies and plan for the future, especially during the pandemic. We need to just do all that we can to advocate for the teachers and the students to help further education in Moore County. As a board member, or board members, we need to be as transparent as possible, especially, with the Parent Advisory Council. We need to have engaging dialogue with them. And I believe that school board members should be involved and hear from them firsthand instead of just being, just meeting with the facilitator. And I'm not sure if even the facilitator even takes the information back to the board members. I don't know. But that's what I believe is most important. It's all about the teachers, parents, and the students, and having the best interest in mind for them.
Well, thank you. And now we'll hear from Helena Wallin-Miller.
Thank you. The most important responsibility of a school board member is to really keep all students at the heart of decision-making and policy development. In a rural and growing community like Moore County, this is even more critical due to the sheer size of our county and our landmass. The board must make decisions for those that live all the way from Westmore to Whispering Pines and from West End to Woodlake. We must look at resources and programming with an equity lens for all students, all abilities, and all walks of life. This takes careful deliberation, study of facts and data, and respectful engagement and dialogue, and following board policies and practices. Additionally, school board members must make important financial and policy decisions to help all students and staff succeed. This includes providing resources and supports to new and returning teachers and staff, providing access to learning for all students, and ensuring safe and appropriate facilities for learning. And one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that it's important to follow the law as well. There are many legal policies that we must follow, either from the NC State or from the government, the federal government. And the other thing is we must stay within our mission, and our mission is to educate all students. We are not able to, and it is not within our mission to serve as landlords and become a facility and leasing our facilities. That is just not feasible given the staffing that we have, and then what our bottom line mission is to educate children and not to be landlords. Finally, as a school board, we must be fully reliant on outside funding from state, county, and federal sources. And school board members must be both good, strong advocates of what our students need and our teachers need, and we must be very good stewards of public funding. A transparent budgeting process and open discussions about investments in public school funding are critical, as is sharing and celebrating student outcomes and successes from these investments that show the community the impact of good financial stewardship.
Thank you. Right on the second. Okay. Now we're going to move on to our second question. And that was, what would be your long-term plans for addressing education issues caused by the COVID-19 pandemic? And this time we will hear first from Phillip Holmes.
Okay, so my long-range plan is to be focused on students that have regressed due to COVID-19. Actually, Yale School of Medicine wrote an article on parents noticing regression, especially during this time. Now, children are naturally motivated to move forward in their development. What they did conclude was that while minor regression is normal, such as the way they feel stress, sharing, and the like, normal regression may be more extreme during this pandemic. So I believe that we need to do what's best for the children. We all have skin in the game, and we want what's best for the children. And I believe that we need to get back to school. A lot of the people that I've talked to have made it clear to me that it's actually putting them in a dilemma as far as their work schedules, the logistical nightmare that this is all causing. Now, I understand that there's a concern for children contracting COVID-19, but at the same time, we also have to look that these students are also going to be out there in the world outside of school, so they're just as likely. We need to support the teachers. We need to hear from their concerns. We just have to work together to come up with a solution. Nobody's perfect, and I get that, but we definitely need these children back in school. So we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully, the longer the pandemic is around, the more likely federal government and the state will help step up to help us fund what needs to be funded for the betterment of the children.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Helena Wallin-Miller.
Thank you. I want to start by saying that we know that children learn best in the classroom. So our goal would be to get those that want to get back into the classroom for face-to-face instruction that opportunity to do so when it's safe and logistically feasible to do that. At the same time, it's important to allow choice to continue learning from home through our virtual academy. No matter where students are, we know that we need to support gaps in learning that have been exacerbated by this pandemic. And this is a major concern for me. Some of the long-range plans that we can start making and working through now is, first, we must find ways to decrease the class sizes in grades 4 through 12. Due to state cuts, we have lost 40 state-funded teaching positions and over 60 teaching assistants in the last 10 years, while our student population has grown by 500. This is not okay, and we must demand better funding so that we can have smaller class sizes to help teachers differentiate learning for all students. Next, and something that we could actually begin now, is to ask teachers to focus their energies on power standards. Focusing on fewer but the most impactful standards gives students key skills that cut across a variety of disciplines. Graphing is an example of a power standard. While technically a math standard, graphs can be found in science and English language arts as well. Even when focusing on power standards, there will be students, and are students, who will struggle. And we need to pull these students out in person or virtually for additional instruction using any available resources that we have, whether they be TAs, curriculum coaches, DIFs, counselors, and/or teachers, to provide one-on-one interventions. And finally, we need to begin planning now for intensive remediation to begin in January. We can do this with after school or Saturday tutoring for students and summer school. Let's look at summer school, and in addition to bringing in our reading camps, we need to start looking at camps for maybe all of our students who have regressed during this time. And it's very important to me that we start looking at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from John Weaver.
Thank you. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has created challenges in public education unlike anything we've experienced. From the closing of our schools in March for the remainder of the school year to reopening in the fall under a hybrid plan combined with a completely virtual option, as is in the case with Moore County schools. It's generally agreed that students learn best in the classroom. We can expect a number of students will lose ground academically while in a completely virtual or hybrid learning environment. Also, there are social and emotional advantages when students receive in-class instruction. Three key issues emerged that need to be addressed due to the pandemic, and any long-range plan must be built around these issues. These include student academic achievement, funding, and social emotional issues arising from being out of the classroom. Each student's academic performance level needs to be assessed and a plan designed around identified deficiencies. This can be achieved through small group targeted instruction or individual intervention. Funding still presents a lot of unknowns at this point. We need to take full advantage of the funds made available to the district from federal and state sources that are targeted specifically for COVID-19 related expenses, so as not to deplete our normal operating budget. Finally, adequate support services need to be available to address social emotional needs of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Stacey Caldwell.
I always feel like I win the lotto when that thing comes up and it says, unmute me now. Sorry. How much learning students lose during school closures varies significantly by access to remote learning, the quality of remote instruction, home support, and the degree of engagement. Staying at home and not socializing is likely causing social and emotional disruption. Milestones such as graduation ceremonies have been canceled, along with sports and other extracurricular activities. These events can reduce academic motivation and hurt academic performance. The ultimate goal for me is to safely get the children back in schools. Of course, that is easier said than done, and it depends on the choices our governor is making. but the longer we wait, the more we will see some students fall behind. My long-range plan would be to make sure students are equipped with, my long-range plan is to make sure teachers are equipped with what they need to make every child successful. Differentiating instruction will be key, but another huge piece we will need to make is to focus on the mental aspect. We need to make sure that we all have enough resources for students to get the help they need if they are having a hard time mentally. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And now we'll hear from Betty Wells Brown.
Hello. In my 45 years of teaching, I thought I'd seen most everything until we got hit with the pandemic. So there are a number of educational issues that school districts will be addressing in the next 5, possibly even the next 10 years. Boards of education and school districts should direct its plans by assessing the mental, social, and physical health of the teachers, the students, and our staff members, administrators on overall. Phasing in additional personnel needed for the safety of our students and teachers. We need more counselors, nurses, social workers, and school resource officers. We also need to seek and recruit and retain quality teachers to replace the number of teachers who have decided to retire because of this pandemic or decided not to return to the classroom because of the pandemic. We need to examine the impact of virtual and part-time face-to-face learning and its effect that this different methodology has on our students. We need funding for decreasing the class size, especially right now in grades 4 through 8 initially, and then moving to reduce the class size in 9 through 12. These are important issues, especially the mental, social, and physical health. We need to get our students back in school safely and securely. Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving ahead of schedule. And now we're going to hear from Robert Levy.
Yes, thank you very much. I think we all agree that we need to move to 5-day-a-week in-person education just as quickly as humanly possible. We need to make sure that our children get a chance to socialize. Unfortunately, my perspective is that we have not moved with a full action plan to do this. The governor, approximately 3 weeks ago, opened up K-5 education for full or almost full-time in-person education. But our school board didn't meet on this subject until just yesterday. More than that, our administrators should have had in the can, so to speak, a plan to move to in-person 5-day-a-week or at least 4-day-a-week education. What is important in the long run is to understand that COVID-19 will change the way that we deal with education, but it will change the way that we deal with education in a very, very specific way. What we're going to do is we're going to allow many of the students and their parents who choose virtual education to continue with virtual education. And those students who do well with in-person education, we're going to encourage them to be a part of in-person education. So what is going to happen? We're going to get those smaller class sizes by encouraging virtual education. We're going to get a new way of doing things, but we must make sure that our administrators and are prepared, that our school board has an emergency meeting the way other school boards did. We have to take this seriously and we have to implement this in a serious manner.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on to the questions that we've received from voters. For these questions, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. And just a reminder, a yellow paddle will be held up when there are 15 seconds remaining and a red paddle when it's time to stop speaking. And for our first audience question is, research shows that nearly 1 in 5 students in North Carolina experience a mental health or substance abuse disorder in any given year. How will you ensure that schools have the resources they need to address student mental health issues, particularly during this pandemic? And for this question, we will start with Robert Levy.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that we have to understand is that as a school, our mission is education. That education is important to look at the mental health of a child, but that must be done in conjunction with the parents. And serious mental health problems need to be referred to specific mental health professionals. And that needs to be done. We have certain programs to do that through the Medicaid program for those students who cannot afford it. But we cannot take on all of the ills of society in our school system. These are important things that need to be done. But we have to make sure that when we have so many D-rated schools, that our first and number one charge is to make sure that our students are well educated and are well taken care of. We can do both these things, and we can do them well.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Betty Wells Brown.
There are a number of issues that we need to address with the mental health. One that we are working on currently, and I'm working with the legislative, as a legislative liaison with our district, as well as a legislative appointed, on a legislative appointed committee for the state, for the North Carolina School Boards Association, looking for funding for more nurses, counselors, social workers to be put in our schools to work with this. One of the efforts that we've made here in our local district is using the Panorama survey with our social and emotional learning survey that we do to determine how our students are doing, how they're handling their mental health, and looking at those areas that our students can benefit from there. We are working, and we're getting the information out to teachers and to the counselors so that they can help the students, and we're training our teachers to work with this so they can recognize the problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Right on time. Now we'll hear from Stacey Caldwell.
Thank you. I have to agree with pretty much what everyone else was talking about. I did want to bring up, though, that John and I are actually on a health and safety committee, which brings everybody, our stakeholders together, and we talk about what's going on in our community and what's going on in the school with mental health. And that's been huge and a huge eye-opener for me. And I think it's been going wonderful. And mental health to me is very important in our schools. I think we don't have the funding for it. I believe that we need to have more nurses in every school. I believe that we need to have more counselors in every school to help with these issues. I see it a lot around military as well. Up in my district, there's just a lot more that children have to deal with as far as their dads or moms leaving. I see the 30 seconds. So I believe that there's a lot of work to be done. We just need the funding to do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to hear from Helena Wallin-Miller.
Thank you for the question. I think it's a really important one. And the first thing I'm going to say is that we need to meet students where they are, and they're in our schools. And it's there that we figure out that there is something that could be going wrong with these students. And the way we do that is by having the right number of counselors and social workers and psychologists available. But we also do that by training staff and training students to notice when there are potentially problems, not only peer-to-peer, but that the teachers and the counselors understand that too. Over the past 5 years, we've created a behavioral health intervention team. It's called a BIT team. And what they're able to do is come in and immediately provide supports to that family and work with that family to have that family then find their own resources outside of schools, because absolutely it should be handled within the family, but sometimes they need a little help finding the right resources and providing that immediate support. And I'll also say that these surveys help us understand what the risk populations are for our students so that we can make sure that we can adequately find funding to meet those needs. And we need data to help us understand that.
Thank you. And now, John Weaver.
Thank you. I see the Moore County school system as being the first line to identify, not necessarily treat. We are woefully funded for resource positions like nurses and counselors and social workers. We have made attempts to secure that funding through our budget process. It's been a difficult battle trying to get that funding that we need. The need for these type positions is even more critical in this COVID-19 pandemic. When we do bring children back into the classroom full time, there are going to be a lot of issues that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will hear from Phillip Holmes.
Thank you. So that was a very, very important question. And after hearing everyone speak, I take positives out of everything. One thing is that this is how it should. So parents, they have the responsibility, right? But at the same time, just like John said, the school board and the schools are the first line of defense. And I get that too. We need to all work together to identify the problems that are associated with mental health. I understand that, but at the same time, I'm not sure that the surveys are the right way to go about it, because some of the questions that are on the surveys are very invasive questions that don't really have anything to do with mental health. 15? Okay. That's where I stand. I think there's better ways to address the problem than, especially like with these surveys.
Well, thank you. And now we'll go on to our next question. And that is, how would you promote professional development for teachers, especially at this time when they're faced with constantly changing digital platforms? And for this question, we will hear first from Helena Wallin-Miller.
It's a great question. It almost feels like every day there's a new type of technology that can be used to help communicate, in the classroom or communicate with your students. I think the first thing I would do is ask the staff, what is working and what isn't working. We've been going now for about 6 to 8 weeks, and see are there improvements that could be made. I think one of the benefits of having a lot online right now is that we are able to offer professional development on your own time and when it makes sense for you. The old days of having to bring everybody together in for a meeting has gone to the wayside, and I think that's one positive benefit, that you can do a lot of this learning in a virtual environment. And I also think trial and error. I think sometimes teachers aren't really sure what's going to work for them. So learning from other teachers about what has worked in their classrooms for management and learning, and being able to try something, and if it doesn't work, giving them some other tools. So just being really acknowledging that.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Phillip Holmes.
I agree with pretty much everything that Helena did say. It is, having that resource of online and moving it and adjusting it to your schedule. I like that. That's a short, sweet answer. This is just very important for the teachers to have that accessibility to that kind of training.
Well, thank you. And we'll hear now from Betty Wells Brown.
Moore County has been a step ahead for professional development for many years by offering online learning for our teachers, as well as our staff members, and offering them areas that they need, not necessarily what we see that they need. And so we've been doing a lot of that already, which has been good. With the digital environment, we've got a train the trainer model that is in effect, where teachers are learn one area and then they train others. And that has been a way of working with the professional development areas in the digital divide. The other part is that we share with others. So as I was very excited recently when our curriculum director shared that teachers were developing areas for their classrooms and then on virtual, and then they were able to share with their other colleagues. So sharing and train the trainer is where we're coming from. Thank you.
Thank you. And now John Weaver.
Thank you again. As Betty indicated, we do have resources for online learning to help teachers with areas that they feel the need for development. We also have PLCs established within our schools. These are teams to get together, bring the teachers and stuff together, that they can share ideas and talk about issues that they're facing. Also, the central staff can provide support to teachers in areas that they might feel that they need development. So it's a very important issue, and I'm glad that the question was raised. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Robert Levy.
Yes, thank you very much. Professional development is always important, but here I want to take a slightly different take on it. I want to make sure that everyone knows that the time of our teachers is very, very important. Our teachers need to learn the latest in technology. We have IT professionals to help them do that. Especially some of our teachers who are not as comfortable with technology, we need to make sure that they get the tools that they need. But we have to make sure that we are not bombarding our teachers and their time with constant professional development courses. And where we have to make sure that each professional development course that we give the teachers are worthwhile. So we have to listen to our teachers a little bit more, and we have to make sure that our teachers are on board with any particular professional development that we give them.
Thank you. And now Stacey Caldwell.
Yes. So I agree with pretty much what everyone says. Going last, you kind of have to say yes to all. But what I will say is that professional development is optional. It's not something that they have to do. Usually half days, they'll have a professional development day where they may do some with collaboration with teachers, but nothing is set in stone that you would have to do it or made to do. Teachers have that option. We also have a wonderful summer academy, though we didn't get to do that this year. They did a lot more online this year. That gives, it's free, and teachers teach other teachers about certain things that they've learned throughout their teaching experiences. And that's been wonderful for a lot of teachers. I wish we had that when I was teaching, because we always had to pay for ourselves, our own staff development stuff. So that's all I got. So I saw the 15 marker.
All right. We're doing great tonight, I'll tell you. All right. I think we can squeeze in one more question. And that, in these difficult times, what are the issues in recruiting and retaining qualified teachers? And what would you propose to address them? And for this question, we will start with John Weaver.
Thank you. The qualified teachers, our resources for getting those has been depleted. We used to have the fellowship program. There was the master's degree incentive. A lot of this has been eliminated or at least reduced, and that has created an opportunity for us to find qualified teachers. Also, being where we're located, not in a metropolitan area, it's very hard to attract teachers, new teachers, to come down here. We just don't have some of the things that they need that would be incentive. So that's my response to that question. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Robert Levy.
Yes, thank you very much. one of the things that we have to do is obviously look at our military community, and we get so many very, very good teachers. Unfortunately, they don't stay as long as sometimes we would like, but we have to make sure that those persons whose spouses are in the military and who qualify as teachers are the first to be recruited. I do differ with John a little bit. I believe that our area has a lot to offer. And I also believe our stipends are very, very important that we offer our teachers. We also have to show our teachers respect. And if we show our teachers respect, we will make sure that we keep the teachers that we have, because the teachers want to know that they are appreciated. And we can do that by making sure that our teachers are given the kind of respect that they deserve.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Helena Wallin-Miller.
Thank you. You know, in addition to what John was saying about some of the issues on the state level with the Teaching Fellows Program and such, the other problem that we have seen is that the benefits for new teachers are going to go away starting in January. So any new teacher that begins in January will no longer have some of the retirement benefits, and that's a real problem. So one of the first things we need to do is really work with the legislature to reverse that, because you know, a lot of teachers look at sort of the steady income throughout their lifetime is fine if they're not going to get a lot of bonuses and such or raises, but they really want to look at the end of when they retire, what those benefits look like. I think another thing that we can work on is continue to look at teacher leadership opportunities. We have seen a lot, we have provided a lot of our staff opportunities to lead within the classroom and also within their school. So providing them continuous opportunities to take leadership and to grow in their profession while they're with us is another important aspect of what we can do.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Phillip Holmes.
So one of the things is that I believe in we need to have the resources to be able to give these teachers the tools that they need to help them succeed. I was looking at the EC teachers, for example. They have the highest rate of burnout, and we just need to support those teachers and help the parents understand the IEPs. We just need to support them in every way that we can. And not just the special teachers, but the teachers in general. We have to make sure that we keep them happy the best that we can. Now, with that being said, there's obviously things that you can't please everybody, right? But the best thing you can do, all you can do is all you can do. And you just have to do the best to help retain the teachers that we have. There's a lot of great teachers in this county, and we have to work hard to do everything that we can to retain them.
Thank you. Stacey Caldwell's next.
Yes, so I agree with pretty much what people have been saying, and I've seen it firsthand where we're losing these amazing teachers to other counties because they pay better, their incentives are better. Even some are going to private schools because they can just teach what they want to teach and not have to worry about all the testing and pretty much our curriculum that we have to go by, North Carolina state curriculum. So with all that said, having to recruit and retain them, we need a good budget for them. We've been trying to get our classified staff some incentives for them, a raise for years, and we just haven't been able to do that because of the budget. And I think that's important. That tells them that they're wanted, that they are needed. And with not giving them anything, it makes them kind of feel like they don't matter in the school system. So it's a hard issue. It's a hard issue. And if we just had the money to do it, we would be able to recruit and retain a lot more teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Betty Wells Brown.
Well, over the past 5 to 7 years, working in the School of Education at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke and working with a number of other universities, we saw a decrease in people who are interested in being educators. So I think we have to grow our own. And one of the aspects that we did was we tried to establish a class on teacher cadets in the high schools and had teachers trained so that they could get them interested in going into education. And so growing our own is one way. Another is working with, again, the schools of education around here with our Troops to Teacher programs, which University of North Carolina Pembroke is doing, where we train a lot of our military personnel that are retiring and move them forward into teaching positions. We also have been working with the legislatures. Elena Wallin-Miller and I and Ed Dennison are our legislative liaisons and work with the legislators looking at the benefits package to get some of these reestablished. Thank you.
Thank you. And Betty, you are first up because we're going to now move into closing remarks. And this is where you get an opportunity to tell why voters should vote for you.
Thank you so much for this time and effort. I do appreciate your time to do this. I've worked for the past 4 years to improve the safety, security, and learning for the students of Moore County. When I first considered running for the Board of Education, I tried to find information about what previous boards had done, and it was a daunting task because there was limited access to meeting minutes and there were no videos to review. Now we have videos, public announcements, presence on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so that the public can be informed as to what is occurring in our schools. All our schools have active websites, and most teachers have information available for parents and students on these schools' websites. We have much to be proud of in Moore County. And since 2016, I have a number of changes of which I've been affiliated, along with getting the new schools established. I know that some folks think we haven't been working to improve our schools, but we must be doing something right if we can get graduation rates moving up to 93%. Our students must be learning and applying these skills to be able to have increase in our career and technical education. I ask for your support by voting for Betty Wells Brown to the Moore County Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Next, we're going to hear from Stacey Caldwell.
What you need to know about me is I'm running for the right reasons, which is to positively make a difference in public school system. I have been on the board for 4 years and we have so many successes. We created a 20-year plan to maintain and upgrade schools, which have led to 4 new schools and a major renovation to a high school. We've hired a military liaison to help with all of our military needs and put play back into kindergarten. We took an in-depth redistricting plan that no other board wanted to tackle. We made sure parents and community stakeholders were heard. The list can go on, but I just wanted to name a few. It's always easy for everyone to point out the negative, which makes us forget about the great successes that our school system has achieved. The impact of growth in our schools is going to continue to rise, and there are plenty of issues our county needs to address, like getting enough funding to continue to improve our schools, giving raises to our teachers, assistants, and staff. Education takes place in the classroom, and board efforts must focus on enhancing and enriching what goes on there. I want to continue to be responsible for establishing and maintaining the structure that supports our vision so Moore County can continue to grow and become the best I know it is. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Phillip Holmes.
So I believe it's important to note that there are positives and there are negatives. The graduation rate, the test scores, they all haven't been improved, and that's wonderful. Can we do more? I ask you, absolutely we can do more, and we have to do more. The thing that we have to understand is that we're all working together. It's okay to have differences of opinion. That's what makes a board so great. I know here lately, everyone's been seeing a lot of negative, and we need to make sure that everyone understands that there is room for improvement academically that we can improve on, as well as operational. So I believe it is very important that we do acknowledge that, and we focus on the positives and negatives and ask what we can do more to better help the schools, the teachers, and the parents.
Thank you. And now Robert Levy.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope that you'll vote Robert Levy for the Moore County School Board. While I understand that we have some beautiful new schools, unfortunately, we have schools that cost $33 million each to build, or approximately that. When we build such a school like the Aberdeen Elementary School and build it right beside a toxic waste dump, and we can't even use the groundwater to water our plants, and then we look down the road at an A-rated school, which is the Academy of Moore, and that's a charter school that was built for $2.5 million. That is by a factor of more than 10. We have to do better. The idea of my campaign is that more can do better. Yes, we have great students. We have the most fantastic teachers in the world, but more can do better. We need to get our T-rated schools up. We need to make sure that we get a responsible group of administrators. And I hope you'll vote Robert Levy for school board.
Thank you. And now, Helena Wallin-Miller.
Thank you. And I've been so glad to be here today. So thank you for giving us this time. I hope you have heard from me some real reasons why you should vote for me. And I'm very excited to tell you about that. I'm a professional. I study the issues and I read the facts. I talk to the community and all to determine the best course of action to support students and staff. I am a proven leader. I have worked very hard over the last 5 years to improve graduation outcomes, test scores, teacher satisfaction, and build and renovate schools to improve the safety of our buildings, all to state standards, meeting all the requirements that are required. I'm a collaborator. I will tell you that schools can't do it alone, and we need help from parents, the community, businesses, and nonprofits to help make Moore County schools a shining example for our region and state, and our students are already doing that. And I'm an advocate for public education, always. And as a parent, I have been involved for 9 years on many, many issues. I would be honored to renew my service to this remarkable community and for all students and staff in Moore County schools. For these reasons and more, I ask for your vote for Helena Wallin-Miller for Board of Education in District 2.
Well, thank you all. I just want to say, if you still have questions for our candidates that weren't addressed this evening,
Excuse me.
You forgot John.
You forgot me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's not a problem.
That's all right. Please, John, go right ahead.
All right. Thank you. I'm a strong supporter of our public schools and an advocate for all Moore County students, educators, and staff. Our students are the future. I believe a strong education system builds strong, vibrant communities which strengthen our local economy. I'm running for a full term on the Board of Education for District 5 because I believe my past experiences over my career and past civic and community service, coupled with my tenure on the Moore County Board of Education, makes me a candidate that brings diversity to the board and will allow me to continue to add value in moving Moore County schools forward to ensure each student receives a safe, quality education and enables them to achieve their full potential and prepare them for success in life. I ask for your consideration and vote in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Thank you. And as I was starting to say, if you didn't have your question answered tonight, you may want to visit our candidates' websites. You can find or send them an email, and you can find this information along with other candidates listed on your ballot and other voting information on the vote411.org website. And that concludes our virtual forum for this evening. Thank you all for watching. And now, please be sure to vote if you haven't done so already. It's not only your right and your responsibility, it's your constitutionally guaranteed privilege. Every vote counts, is of equal value, and it helps to ensure the protection and preservation of our democracy. And remember, you can vote in person at any one of the 4 early voting sites in Moore County from October 15th through October 31st, at your regular polling site on Election Day, November 3rd, or you can vote by mail-in absentee ballot. And for more information about voting, and mail-in absentee ballots, please contact Moore County Board of Elections. At this point, in an in-person candidate forum, I would be saying, now let's have a big round of applause for these wonderful candidates. But since we can't do that tonight, you can show your appreciation by going to the polls and voting. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Moore County, thank you and good night.